Hey everyone, Derek here with a preview of Pokken Tournament, and while I didn't actually get to play it, Andre did, so we're going to take the chance to pick his brain and see exactly what he thought of this Pokemon fighter. So, Andre, what'd you think?
Yeah, so I got to play the game for about 45 minutes, which isn't a ton of time, for a fighting game. Like, it's enough to get a good grasp of it, but I can't really speak to, the amount of depth or longevity it has. But I had a really good time with it. It was easy to get into, the controls are simple, similar to Smash Brothers in their simplicity, in that the controls are basically fundamentally based on pressing a direction on the D-pad and tapping a button, and that could be like a quick attack, or rather a weak attack, strong attack, or the special abilities, I believe. And on top of that, you can jump as well. And then you can also perform special moves by tapping multiple buttons, like throwing with, I think Y and B. And then you can also guard. And then, of course, you have the burst mode, but we'll get into that later. But what I'm getting at is the controls are simple, and the game was a lot of fun. I think that's partially because of both how simple it is and also the phase shift mechanic, which actually makes the game feel a lot different from any other fighting game I've played.
Now, what makes the phase shift so different? I know it switches from 2D to 3D, but how big of a difference is that?
It's a pretty big difference. It's immediately noticeable when it happens. I mean, partially because it does like a big phase shift announcement. And, that's when the camera swings from the 3D view to the 2D view. So, in case you haven't been following the game at all, every battle does start in the 3D view, where you have free reign, you can run around wherever you want in the arena, and your controls are a little bit different here, as well as your moveset. And this is great for, especially if you have like projectiles where you can do more long range. It's easier to do long range attacks from while in this view. Now, if you land a powerful attack or it's some kind of combo, if either character lands this, that's what causes a phase shift. So you can do a whole bunch of weak attacks and then follow up with a strong attack, and that might trigger the phase shift, and that's when it goes into the 2D view, and that's where it feels a little bit more like a conventional fighter, say like Street Fighter. And the controls still are simplistic, but some of your moves might change in this mode. But and overall it feels quite a bit different, just with how just with the whole camera shift and everything. And I really do like that dynamic of how it switches between the two throughout the battle based on the moves you do. And it makes it just so you have to stay, kind of like on your toes, especially. Like, you can't just fall into like a mindless button mashing type thing, because you just switch up the gameplay. And so because of that, it was just a really fun. It was just really fun, and I really dug how it worked. Now, again, I can't speak to whether how much of a gimmick it might be or how well it might hold up over time, but based on my short almost hour of playtime, I really quite enjoyed it.
Very nice. Now, what all kinds of modes of battles did you get to experience while playing it?
So I primarily did a bunch of single battles against a computer. I also did some local multiplayer battles where one person plays on the TV and the gamepad. So I should clarify, because of the way the 3D phase shift works, that means everyone or both players need their own screen, which you can do either, as I mentioned, with the TV and gamepad, or you can also use a local LAN mode as well, where each player, if you have I think 2 Wii U's and 2 TVs, you can set it up that way. But so I have a feeling most people are going to be playing on the TV and gamepad in local multiplayer. And in which case the frame rate does drop from 60 frames per second to, I believe, 30. Then I also got to try the Ferrum League, which is the game's primary single-player mode, which, like most fighters, you battle a ladder of other Pokken fighters, and you work your way to the top. On top of that, I got to check out the character customization in, I believe it's called, what was it called?
My Town.
My Town, thanks. Yeah, where you go to My Town, you can customize your character, your trainer specifically, by buying accessories using coins you earn throughout the game. And I also got to play around with, not so much play around with, but after every battle in the single player mode, you can upgrade your Pokken characters. You can upgrade your fighters by, like in their strength or defense or in a couple other categories. And it's kind of cool being able to power up your Pokken, and then that will carry over to the next matches. Not in multiplayer, I don't think, but for the single player, it's pretty cool being able to level up your Pokken, just like in the Pokemon games. So, I keep calling them Pokken. I don't think they're called Pokken in this game, but I'm calling them that.
No, I've noticed that, but that's okay. Now, what Pokemon did you actually get to play as during your game time?
So, myself, I got to play as Pikachu, Charizard, Pikachu Libre, Shadow Mewtwo, and Weavile. And then I also got, I went up against several other Pokemon as well. So of those, I think my favorites were Pikachu because he's quick and nimble, Charizard because he was strong, and then Shadow Mewtwo just because he actually looked pretty awesome. So most of the ones I played as were my favorites.
I mean, I've seen the gameplay footage and it looks really gorgeous, but how did it look on the TV screen? Because of course that's a huge difference between the TV and
It looked great.
YouTube.
It looks really good. Like, it runs smoothly, at least in single player. I mean, even in multiplayer, it felt smooth, but the frame rate does drop. In single player, it's silky smooth, and the graphics look fantastic. Like, because you get the fighting games tend to focus. You have the focus on the two characters, so they look great here. I don't think we've ever seen Pokemon look better. I'm just going Pokken now. We've never seen Pokken look better. And then the arenas themselves also look good. In fact, what's funny is I had a chance to interview the developers afterward too, and they were talking about how upgrading the Pokemon for this game was kind of a challenge in and of itself, because they were like, they've never seen Pokemon in this level of detail, and they're like, what kind of fabric or material would this character look like? Like, is that fur or some other kind of soft material? And they actually, you'll see that in our interview, where they even point out Lucario, and they're like, what kind of material is that? So they had to think about these Pokemon in ways that they haven't before, and how to portray these characters and make them look, up to the standards on the Wii U, but while also being true to the original characters. So I thought they accomplished it. Like, they all look great here.
Yeah, and we got to see a brand new stage, Diggersby Island, that you showed off, and my God, does that stage look gorgeous.
It really does.
It really stands out, and the gameplay is... who knows how it's going to turn out, but the graphics at least are really good.
They are.
But did anything else stand out about Pokken as you were playing it, or you just basically got an idea of exactly how it plays?
That covers the main things. Oh, you know what? I guess I should touch on a couple other elements of the gameplay, specifically the support Pokemon and burst mode. So basically, both of these are things that you can activate. I was gonna say at any point during the match, but only at certain points when you build up the meters for them. So support Pokemon are something you choose. So after you choose a character, you choose a set of supporting Pokemon. They come in pairs of two. It's always they always come in the same pairs. You can't mix and match. But then after you choose a pair, you actually choose which one of those two you want to use before each round. So you do have to think ahead about which one would be the most useful to you for that round. And these support Pokemon lend you some kind of benefit when you activate them in the match. So like one of them might attack the enemy, another might give you some HP back, as I recall. So the way you activate them, you just press ZL after you build up its meter, which you can see by its icon in the corner, and then it'll do its thing. So that's pretty cool. But on top of that, there's also the burst mode, which, again, there's another meter for it, and this builds up by either inflicting damage or taking damage. And once it fills up, you just hit both triggers, being ZL and ZR, and this basically makes you Super Saiyan, right? So you become stronger, I think you become faster, and it's super useful. Now, on top of that, you also have a burst move, which you can activate by pressing both triggers again, and if you land on your opponent, it does a ton of damage. So yeah, that's a very useful thing to keep an eye on, because it does come in handy. Yeah, I mean, just overall, like, I like how simple the controls were, and the phase shifts are enjoyable. Like, they make the game feel unique. So I actually would be curious to play more of this game, which is saying something, but I'm not a huge fighting game fan. So yeah, overall I enjoyed it, and I think you'll probably be reviewing it for us. So
yes, and what I saw of your gameplay was actually like intriguing to me, because I saw that like there's so many unlockables here. You barely start out with any unlockable support Pokemon. You get the full roster, of course, but there's also all the customization options for your character, and there are a ton. So there's like, okay, I'm intrigued. There's a lot of single player here to keep me invested. Let's see if actually the gameplay holds me as well.
Right.
And from what you're saying, I'm hopeful. I really hope they pull it off with this game.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, it's funny because you just picked up Street Fighter V today, and it sounds like this game has far more content than Street Fighter.
At least right now, yes.
Yep.
Street Fighter V does not have much content. Oh boy, but yeah, we'll see which one lasts longer. But both will be at Evo, and yeah, I'm excited to pick it up and try it out for myself.
Maybe we'll do some online battles, Derek.
Yeah, I'll kick your butt.
No, we'll see. Real quick before we wrap it up, I just want to again mention that we will be posting our interview with the developers, I think later today. So make sure to check it out. There's a lot more information in there regarding the development of the game that we don't cover here, including which Pokemon characters they wanted to see in the game, but didn't quite make it in. So
yeah, I think that'll be really interesting.
Yep.
So, well, thank you guys for watching, and of course, stay tuned to Game Explained for more on Pokken Tournament, including that interview and other things gaming as well. All right, guys, bye.